Week 1 just around the corner. I'm Dustin. This is your Week 1 waiver wire. Getting really excited for some football. If you're new to this channel or you just subscribed, I do this show every week where I just kind of go through all the guys that I think are worth adding. So one thing too before I get into it, we ran a contest this offseason where we had someone that's one of our viewers that's going to get their own show on our channel. Josh was the winner with his show idea called The Flex. We're really excited about this one. He's going to pick his questions straight from the comments in this video, specifically flex questions. So if you got any, post them in this video and he will be picking them to shoot his video later in the week. And if you have other lineup questions, go ahead and post them as well. We get to as many as we can during the weeks. So check that out. Get those in there. So like I said, if you're new to this, here's how it works. I put these guys in. I ranked them kind of how I would pick them up based on 0.5 PPR settings. And I can't talk about everyone or else the show will be too long, but like I said, I ranked them kind of how I would pick them up. And I do like to start the show with kind of the pickup of the week, which is brought to you by FanDuel. So get into our game if you haven't already. Click on the link in the description. If you haven't signed up yet, you get a $20 free bonus if you sign up and do your first deposit. But get into our Beat the Experts games in the description. It's a lot of fun. But my pickup in the week, just kind of the guy that's kind of the most exciting pickup, not necessarily the guy I would pick up if all these guys were available, but I really think Keelan Cole is an exciting pickup right now. I think he's getting a little disrespected, only owning 50% of leagues when you look at how he finished last year. And I know that Jacksonville, you look at that team, they're going to win with defense and running the ball. But they're still going to throw, and he's still going to be probably their most productive wide receiver. I like how he finished. I think he needs to be owned in more leagues. All right, let's take a look at running backs. Aaron Jones, I think he's getting disrespected, only owning 70% of leagues. I know he's suspended the first 2 games, but there is still a very good chance, in my opinion, he takes over as the lead guy for Green Bay. He just looked like the better runner than Williams. Yes, Williams has the first shot. If he looks good, it's going to be hard for Jones to come in and take it from him. But I think Jones has more talent. I think he's the better runner. I think he needs to be owned in more leagues. Marlon Mack's the next guy. I was shocked to see he's owned in less than 70% of leagues. I mean, this is the potential starting running back on a good offense. I know he's banged up, and it does look like Wilkins is going to start week 1, but I don't get it. I mean, this is the guy to own out there in Indy, I feel. I think he should be owned in more leagues. Alfred Morris, McKinnon owners, sorry, that's a rough one. I think Morris, I have him slightly higher than Burita in terms of the guy to pick up, mainly just because he's healthy and I think he'll get the goal lines. But Burita, he's just a little bit further down the list. He's still worth adding in most leagues. And then James Conner, only owning 30% of leagues. If you own Le'Veon Bell, you gotta have Conner on your team. I mean, it's that simple right now. There's too much uncertainty. It's just, yes, Bell will probably report. Bell will probably play week 1, but he might not. Like, it's you gotta have Conner on your team, at least for now, until this whole thing shakes out. He needs to be owned in way more leagues. Next, I want to talk about James White and Jeremy Hill. I want to remind people of last year with what happened with New England. You know, it's just all the running backs there, and then who ends up being the one to own at the end and who helped win a lot of championships? Deion Lewis, and he was the one that wasn't really getting much attention on draft day. So just remember that in terms of New England running backs, sometimes it's not always who you think it is that's going to have the value, and obviously James White in PPR leagues, he's still going to have flex appeal each week. So I think both these guys should be owned in more leagues. John Kelly for the Rams. It looks like Gurley finally has a backup that could be good if Gurley goes down. Over Gurley. Last year with Gurley, it didn't really seem like he had a clear-cut handcuff. This year he does. Kelly's the guy. And then Kalen Ballage from Miami. This is just an interesting guy to take a look at. He has obviously Gore and Kenyon Drake in front of him, but Ballage showed enough in preseason to raise my eyebrows a little bit. I think he's got some potential. I think if he gets a chance, I think he could be serviceable. And I know there are some question marks with Drake's durability, and Gore's an old man at this point. So just in terms of real deep leagues, if you're just looking for a high upside guy to add to your bench, I don't mind him. Let's move the wide receiver. Tyler Lockett only on 50% of leagues. That Baldwin report about him probably only being 80% all year with that knee scares me a little bit. That definitely makes me think, this could be the year Lockett breaks out, only on 50% of leagues. I think he should be on the more. Kenny Stills in 30% of leagues with Miami. Landry left a huge hole out there in terms of yards and targets to go around. They got Tannehill back out there. That Miami offense could be a little bit better this year. Stills, I think he needs to be on in more leagues. Moving on, Allen Hurns, only on 40% of leagues. I know there's been a lot of question marks with the Dallas passing game, but they're going to still have a decent amount of passing yards, and someone's got to catch the ball. I know Hurns isn't necessarily what you would consider a good wide receiver one on any NFL team, but he's still serviceable, and he's still going to catch plenty of passes. And I just think, him only owning 40% of leagues, I think that's disrespecting him a little bit. Cameron Meredith's another guy I want to talk about, only owning 35% of leagues. He finally showed well his last preseason game, had 72 yards, I believe, and a touchdown. And on that offense, there's plenty of yards to go around. I think he could kind of fill that kind of Willie Snead role from a few years back and be a solid wide receiver 3. I don't necessarily see much higher upside unless Thomas gets hurt, but I think he could be a serviceable wide receiver 3. He should be on the more leagues. John Ross with Cincinnati I want to talk about. They've been looking for that compliment for A.J. Green forever. I think Ross could be the guy. They may have finally found the guy to line up on the other side of him and have fantasy value. I don't mind Ross in deeper leagues. I want to talk about Allison for Green Bay. With Cobb, with them shopping Cobb and him not looking like himself for the last couple years, I think there is potential for Allison to really kind of step up here. I don't necessarily know if he'll be, starting out there or being the wide receiver 2, but I think there's certainly potential on that offense. He's going to have some good games, I feel. I think he's got decent touchdown potential. I don't mind him in deeper leagues. James Washington, I want to talk about with Pittsburgh. Kind of the same deal. It's a good offense. I know he's not necessarily going to be, the top target or anything like that, but I do think he will have some big games. I think he's got decent touchdown potential, and I think, obviously, keeper dynasty leagues, I like him. Tavon Austin's a person I want to talk about with Dallas. Check out your league settings. His position eligibility, some leagues he has wide receiver and running back eligibility, which is interesting. And I think he could be an interesting gadget type guy for Dallas. Move him around all over the place, get the ball in his hands, see what he can do. We've seen flashes with him in the past, and like I was saying with Dallas, they're still going to be decent on offense, and I think Austin could be one of their kind of sneaky weapons. Quarterback, Dak Prescott. Been talking about Dallas a lot. I'm just saying, don't write that passing offense off. I don't think it'll be amazing, but I don't think it's going to be as bad as people think. So Dak Prescott, Alex Smith owning 70 and 65% of leagues. These guys are going to rush for over 300 yards, which equates to about another 1,000 passing yards. Don't forget about the rushing stats. I think at the very least, these guys should be QB2s on people's bench. I think they should be owned in more leagues. Tight end, I want to talk about Ben Watson, only on 45% of leagues. I think he could have a sneaky good season out there with the Saints. He's still got some left in the tank. All the preseason reports have been positive on him. I think Ben Watson could finish the year as a top 10 tight end. I don't think he's going to do anything amazing, but I think he'll kind of be a steady Eddie guy all year with decent touchdown potential. And then Ricky Seals-Jones, we haven't heard a ton about him during the preseason, but we just still think he's a guy that should get a little bit more respect. Only on 25% of leagues, he's got kind of that potential of taking that next step. So keep an eye on him. Maybe add him to your bench if you're looking for an extra tight end. Pick up and play defenses for you. I like Detroit. Only on 40% of leagues, I don't really understand with a matchup at home against the Jets. Detroit was a decent defense last year. I think they're a great option week 1. I don't necessarily trust that Jets offense. And then Seattle, I don't mind. Only on 30% of leagues. They're at Denver. I think Denver will be better this year. But Seattle's D, I know they're not what they used to be, but they're still decent. And only on 30% of leagues, I think that's disrespecting them a little bit. I think they could have a solid week 1. So Leave some comments. Like I said, I'll be doing this every week. If you haven't subscribed already, do that. We'll be back later in the week with more shows. Excited for some football.